Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of the viewers from around the world. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of JForex Indicators Explained, we will be looking at the concept, the uses, the properties of a indicator known as Chaikin Accumulation Distribution Oscillator. Yesterday, in yesterday's session, I explained to you the concept of checking accumulation distribution line, and this indicator, the oscillator, is derived from that prior indicator. So we have to utilize the actual output value of the check-in the accumulation distribution line to figure out the output for the check-in accumulation distribution oscillator. So let us now head to the JForex 4, the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. Here, this is the chart drawn on the hourly candle period. And if you want to know where this indicator is listed, you can go to these add indicator options. And in it, you will find this indicator listed amongst the volume indicator just below the check-in AD line. Here we have the check-in accumulation distribution oscillator, or you get the second option also. You simply type in check-in and here it comes. All right. So this is the indicator which is going to be a helpful parameter to see on which side the trend is, whether it is bullish or bearish, and if these price momentums are also accompanied by significant enough volume, so that we have a higher enough chance of making money rather than losing money. So we always have to pay attention to the money flow, whether the money is flowing in good enough quantity, so that we can have these hello Alice, hello Adrian, so that we can have these higher probabilities of the continuation of the trend of the price action trajectory in the same direction. So suppose if we get a big move, spurt in the price action on the higher side, then we have to see if that spurt is going to be sustained in coming hours or not. So for that, it becomes important to pay attention to the money flow also, and this indicator does that job precisely. It gives you a good idea of the volume data, and if we have the volume as well as the price action on the same side, then we will have the higher probability. So this indicator is going to be derived, as I said in my introductory remarks, using the accumulation distribution line, check-in AD line, and for that I had given you the actual formula in yesterday's session. If you need the precise formula, you can simply do a bit of search on the internet, Google or otherwise, and you will get the exact formula. The concept is simple. It takes into consideration the difference between the high and the closing price. So whatever is the difference, from that difference we then deduct the difference between the close and low price for the current period, and then that is divided by the difference between the high and low, and furthermore then we take the 3 period EMA of that actual output of the check-in AD line, and from it we deduct further 10 period EMA of the check-in AD line. So that's how we arrive at this AD oscillator output with this default setting of 3 and 10. Now if you want to know how things are shaping up, whether the momentum is strong enough or not, you will have to pay attention to the relative values, because there is not much of an sense to make from these absolute values. If we see its output value, it is going to vary wildly. So here the reading is at more than 50,000, then after a couple of hours it drops to minus 16,000. So it becomes very difficult to make sense of these wildly fluctuating values. All we have to do is pay attention to the territory, whether it is in positive territory or in negative territory, and if it is on the rise or on the decline. Suppose if we have the oscillator value in positive territory and at the same time it is on the rise, that means the momentum is picking up. Whether the price action is going to be sustained in coming hours or not is going to be a lot more dependent on how strong the price momentum is at the time of the first spurt. So we have to then take it in relative context and see if we get it spurt strong enough, then we will have higher probability. So for that, you will have to compare these values and then figure out if the momentum is strong or not. And these absolute values have to be looked into from that perspective. So you will have to do a bit of observation on this chart. You will have to go back a couple of days if the need be, or even you can do the observation for a couple of weeks. And then you will get the context of these output parameters, output value, and putting in that context, then you will get a relative sense of what to be, what price, what output to be considered strong and what output to be considered weak enough. And whenever there is a spurt on either side, whether it is bullish or bearish, and if we see that this oscillator is confirming and we have the predefined output parameters in place, then I think we can go for the initiation of the new trade. Suppose, for example, here, if we look at its value for the AD oscillator, we saw the price action and which is strongly turning on the bullish side. First, we get this move on the lower side, but it doesn't really is sustained, and then we get this swift turnaround, and eventually it goes on to rise almost more than 100 pips. Suppose if we look at its output parameters here, we had the accumulation distribution oscillator, the Chaikin accumulation distribution oscillator in the negative territory, and then it turns the corner, it value almost more than doubles, and then it continues on the same trajectory for a couple of hours. So I think you can add a requirement like the output parameter, the output value should be doubling and it should be sustained for at least say 2 or 3 hours. So I'm giving you a representative example. You will have to decide it for yourself whether this kind of setting is going to work for you or not. So you get this option of defining the parameters, the requirements for your own setup, and then this indicator will guide you, will help you in figuring out the opportunities. Same concept can also be applied on the negative side. Suppose if we see that the output is now freshly entering into a negative zone from positive zone, and then we can pay attention to its output value, whether it is declining fast enough or not. Suppose here we get this output of this Chaikin AD oscillator turning negative, but it doesn't really change that fast enough compared to what we saw in the prior case. Now here, if we have to take the trade, then we will have to keep in mind that the momentum is there, it is on the bearish side, but whether it is strong enough to warrant a fresh entry or not, that is another question. So we have to keep these kind of things in mind. Then after a short while, the momentum again enters into a positive zone, but it is also not strongly accompanied by either price action or the changes in this output value. So keeping this thing in mind, I think we will have a higher probability of being on the right side of the momentum. So only when the momentum is strong enough, we can go for the initiation of the trade. And if the momentum is not strong enough, if it is not good enough to warrant new trade, then we can simply sit on the sidelines and wait for more opportune time to get involved. So this is one way to utilize these indicators output to figure out the trading opportunities. We can always customize this indicator, and then accordingly we can go for the initiation of the trade. Now if we have to go for the figuring out of the setup, you will have to tweak around its settings. You will have to know how you can take the advantage of this indicator to see for yourself how to customize this, how to figure out the opportunities market is going to provide you. And for that, you will have to go to the editing panel and see that you have the options, you have the parameters customization done in a way which are going to help you in customizing these. Let me check the comments. All right, there are no new comments. Now we turn our gaze back to the editing panel, and here we get to define this fast period and the slow period. We have to define what kind of combination we want to work with. The default combination is of 3 and 10. The fast period has been defined at 3, the slow period has been defined at 10, and is the difference of these two calculation period EMAs, which gets us the output parameter, output value of this Chaikin AD oscillator. Now, if you want to tinker with this combination, you can always do that. You can change, you can increase or decrease. There is not much to decrease, so I think probably if you feel like if you want to use more data points to figure out a setup, you can always increase it. So let's go for a fourfold increase, maybe a combination on the lines of 12 and 40 might get us similar kind of output, but with more stable trajectory, as we have increased both the calculation periods fourfolds. So here now we have a lot more stability, and that is pretty much on the expected lines. And because of this, we won't be seeing sharp fluctuations even if there is a significant price move in any given hour. Till we have a sustained move in the same trajectory, till then we won't be seeing any changes. And if the momentum is not really sustained, and if we see fluctuations on both the side, in that kind of scenario we will see these oscillator flatlining and not going anywhere, as we saw in this case. And after it started to rise again, we saw these AD oscillator picking up the pace, and then once the things started to go sideways again, we saw it stabilizing, flatlining on the higher side. So that's how this oscillator is going to work for you. This is a bit different compared to the what we have seen in case of other oscillators like RSI or RVI. But this is also oscillator which takes into consideration both the money flow, and for that it takes into consideration the price action as well as volume. So that gives it more reliability, and we have to then keep its pros and cons in mind while working with this setup. So here, the thing with the higher calculation period is that we will see a substantial lag. As I said, any fluctuation, however sharply in any given candle period, is not going to impact that much when we are using larger time frame for the calculation of the indicator. As we saw here, in this hour there was this significant jump on the higher side. It did cast an impact, but it is not too prominent compared to what we have already seen the impact of other candles. So it is kind of cumulative, and it gives it more stability. And unless and until there is a sustained change in the course of price action, we won't be seeing this one single standalone candle having too much an impact and resulting in the change of trajectory for the output of this Chaikin AD oscillator. Now, coming to the basic concept, as I said, the classical interpretation is that when we have this Chaikin AD oscillator output above zero, that is to be considered bullish, and when we have this Chaikin AD oscillator value in negative territory, that is inferred as the negative. So we get these both these things quite clearly defined, and then all we have to do is look at the momentum, whether it is strong enough or not to warrant a trade, and then decide the trading decisions, take the trading decisions accordingly. Now I'm going to restore it back to the default combination of 3 and 10. All right, coming to the designing, or you can say customization of the output value, you have to see how this color combination of your choice is going to look on the chart. You get all these customization tools, so you get to see this new custom color combination. So whatever is your choice, you can define it accordingly. You can style it up the way you feel like. You can increase or decrease the width. I think 2 is good enough. As per my taste, I have reduced the transparency so that the chart doesn't look too prominent. And levels, there are no predefined levels for the indicator, and since this is an unbounded indicator, it is very hard to define any level with good enough conviction. But I think 0 is a universal marker. So if you feel like for the ease of reading into the data points, you can add a level of 0. So whenever there is change, you will spot it immediately. Here also color combination you get to decide. You can go for different color combinations, styling combinations, and also the width and opaqueness can also be customized as per your taste. Coming to the advanced editing tools, advanced editing options. If you want to recalculate the indicator only once throughout the current candle period, then you can opt in for this option, recalculate on new candle only. If you want the time period zone to be highlighted, you can go for that as well. So whatever is your calculation time period, it will be highlighted here. If we look at this chart, your calculation period is getting highlighted. Since the theme is black, it is not that prominent, but if you pay close enough attention, you will notice it. Calculate from custom data. The customization can be done further for the instrument and the candle period. You can use this indicator on almost all of the instruments available on the platform. So there is indicator which is going to work well, as I said, for almost all of these instruments. So you get to decide which instrument you want to work with, and then figure out the trading opportunities for that instrument accordingly. So you have this choice. It is going to work in the commodity segment, in the forex, in the equity. So all you have to do is get a combination which is good enough as per your requirement, as per your trading style, and then it will help you figure out the opportunities to get involved on the same side of the sentiments. It is going to gauge the sentiments prevalent in the market, and then accordingly you can decide whether to go short or whether to go long. The calculation period can be customized. You can use it from the chart, or you can keep it predefined. So you get this option as well. Now suppose if you want to get the calculation done using each candle of 10 minutes each, regardless of what's the chart's candle period, you can do that as well. All right. Or you can simply use it from the chart. The spread side can be asked or bid. There will be slight difference depending on which spread side you use. If you want the indicator to be available on all the candle periods, you can use that as well. If you want it to be available on only on specific time frame, then accordingly you will have to select on which time frame you want this indicator to be available. For example, if we choose hourly and 5 minutes, then only on hourly and 5 minutes there will be plotting of this indicator. But if I change these indicators candle period to say another candle period, then there won't be any plotting of this indicator. So that's how this indicator works out for you. Now I'm going to restore it back to the hourly. The base period can be varied anything from these none to monthly, and it is not going to cause much of an impact on the output value of this indicator. So this is an indicator which is going to work more or less similar regardless of what is the base period. So guys, that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. I think the Alex and Adrian have left, and guys, if you're watching, you can ask anything related to the indicator, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there too. For trying out the newly released platform, I have included the link in the bio. So give it a try and let me know how it works out for you. That's all for the day. I will be back on Monday with a new indicator, new concept, new uses, new customization options. So do come back on Monday. See you on Monday. Have a happy weekend.